As the Russian army continues to successfully grind combat-ready units of the armed forces of Ukraine together with Western types of weapons, successfully destroying the myth of the superiority of US weapons, the situation in the Middle East continues to escalate around the US military and representatives of Washington. The fact is that the conflict in Ukraine proved that the military and economic power of the West, led by the United States, turned out to be a myth that was successfully destroyed by Russia. Yes, the very Russia that dared to be the first in the world to challenge the United States and put an end to Washington's dominance in the geopolitical and economic arena. This fact has inspired confidence in many countries, which have begun to openly express their dissatisfaction with US foreign policy. The fact that times have changed and the world will no longer be the same as before is recognized even by the Americans themselves. The US authorities have long realized that Washington will no longer be able to control this world with its military and economic might. However, as recent events show, the former hegemon is not going to leave the world stage without a fight. After the humiliating defeat in Ukraine, the United States is doing everything to ensure that the Ukrainian scenario does not repeat itself in Taiwan and the Middle East. However, judging by the ultimatum statements of the Chinese leader and the growing discontent of the leaders of the Arab countries, the United States will soon be forced to say goodbye also to these regions of the world. The fact that the situation in the Middle East has deteriorated sharply for the United States is also recognized by the Americans themselves. According to them, in this region of the world, the number of attacks on US military bases and military convoys has increased 5 times. Moreover, on December 31st, fighters of Shiite armed groups from the Islamic Resistance Movement of Iraq conducted the most powerful missile attack on the US military base in the Syrian province of Deir Zor, in the area of the Kaniko gas field. According to preliminary data, more than 10 missiles were fired at the US military base. Witnesses claim a series of powerful explosions on the territory of this base. It is reported that after these explosions, thick clouds of smoke stood over the US military base for 20 hours. Moreover, later that day, December 31st, Yemen's Houthis attacked a container ship of the Danish company Maersk in the Red Sea. At the same time, it is worth noting that this ship was moving in the Red Sea while under the protection of the US Navy. In total, Yemen's Houthis fired 3 missiles at the ship, 2 of which were intercepted by Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, Gravely. However, 1 missile still managed to hit the target, as a result of which a fire started on board, and the ship received minor damage. Thus, it becomes clear that Arab groups in the Middle East have already entered the war against the United States. At the same time, it is worth noting that these groups are armed with modern weapons ranging from multiple launch rocket systems to anti-ship missiles. The fact that US military bases and Western ships began to be regularly attacked indicates that the Arab world is completely disillusioned with the United States, and that it is time for Washington to get out of the Middle East. There is no doubt that these Arab groups carry out their attacks on Americans with the tacit consent of not only Iran, but also the leaders of many Arab countries. The erroneous US foreign policy and blind support for Israel, whose actions have already led to the deaths of almost 25,000 civilians in Gaza, have made it clear to Arab countries that Washington is not a reliable ally. Moreover, the Arab royal families and Arab leaders were outraged that the United States had frozen Russian assets and actually stole money that belonged to Moscow. In particular, the Saudis, who have multi-billion-dollar bank accounts, are perfectly aware that Washington can do the same to them. That is why Saudi Arabia began to move away from the United States, trying to reduce its dependence on Washington.
That is why Mohammed bin Salman diligently develops relations with Russia and China.
Recent events in the world have proved to Arab countries that it is not only not profitable, but even dangerous to focus on the United States economically, politically, and militarily. And that is why the pressure on the United States and the Middle East will only grow, as a result of which Washington will be forced to leave this region of the world once and for all.